First casualty, mud flat. That didn't last long. Well, we're back in the workshop because it's finally time to do some more mods to my new N70 Hilux. You might remember in the first episode, I took the vehicle down to Tommy and the team at Performance Tourers 4x4, where we went through the vehicle front to back and looked at its reliability, and once we were happy with it, we decided to get a bit of power out of the engine. Now, it's time to do a few more off-road mods. Before that though, while it's standard, I've always wanted to see how far you can get a dual cab ute off-road before you do the big ticket items like suspension, wheels and tires, and lockers. So what I'd love to do is take it out into the bush as it is and see how far I can get it. What that's gonna do is give me a really good platform to build from. I know what I'm gonna do to the vehicle, and hopefully you guys watching at home will be able to do the same thing, because at the end of the day, you gotta remember, you gotta think about the question, what are you using the vehicle for, and build it to suit. I want this one to be a bit of a all-rounder, a tough tourer, but still be able to do some tough tracks. So I want to see where it's at in its current form and go from there. Before that though, I've got a few mods here that have arrived already that I'm going to chuck on, like EFS roof rack and a new bull bar. I've also got a brand new winch to chuck in. The reason for that is when I go out to do this test, I'm going to be by myself and I want the ability to self-recover. Everything else I'm going to leave, so I'm still going to have standard suspension, wheels and tires, and it's going to be unlocked. We'll be able to see how far we can get in the bush. Righto, let's get some mods on. All right, new bull bar's on, it's looking really good. Chucked on some spotties, the ultra winch, UHF antenna. Now all that's left to do is put the roof platform on and then we can take it out in the bush. Sweet, that's all on, it's looking pretty good. I reckon down the track, I might chuck some camp lights under here, maybe a light bar under the front, maybe some treads on the other side or something like that. It also comes with these bars for the side if you want to mount them on the side to tie gear down too, but I'm just going to keep it low profile dog like this. I reckon it looks pretty good. All right, she's looking pretty tough. You might be wondering why I decided on this bull bar. There's a bunch of reasons. So first things first, obviously bull bars are pretty polarizing. Some people like to have no hoops, some people like to have one hoop in the middle, or some people like to have a triple hoop, pretty much like what I've done. The reason I've decided on this is still gonna be a bit of a tourer, so you want that bit of extra protection when you're out in the bush from animals. That's one of the main reasons. But the other thing is, I've wheeled my other four-wheel drives pretty hard over the years, and there's been multiple times I can remember where I've been on gnarly angles and I've put the hoop into a rock, and if that hoop wasn't there, it would have just fed the front of my car. So I'm actually a big fan of having hoops even on wheeling rigs as well. The other reasons I chose this bar is we put the front mount in the first episode, and I was really conscious of maintaining airflow. I still wanted to mount all the accessories like a winch and spotlights and an antenna, but I didn't want to lose having plenty of airflow to that front mount cooler. This EFS bar has nice open areas, still get plenty of airflow through to that cooler. You can even see it quite well through there, but I was still able to mount everything. You'll also notice that I've mounted the spotlights a fair way apart. That again is so I could just maximize the amount of airflow I could get into that nice big front mount. Another thing on that too is the uprights on this bar. You can see how they kind of point out that way. I just thought that was a nice little design feature to just allow a little bit more space in here. All right, time to head inside the vehicle and install the UHF. I've mounted the transceiver for the UHF behind the dash, just nice and hidden. I'm just looking for the best spot to mount the handpiece. Now, I reckon the best way to do that is to sit in the driver's seat and just have a play around of where you might like to access it from, because you want to be able to access it while you're driving and not have to think about it. That's why I got this one on a magnetic mount, so I can just grab it while I'm driving. I'm actually thinking here, so it's a bit out of the way, but I can still access it easily while I'm wheeling. I reckon that's a pretty good spot. So I'm just going to use some double-sided tape, chuck it on the dash just there. If you're watching at home and you really want to test the capability of your modern dual cab ute like I'm about to do in its stock form to find out what mods you want to do first, it's important to consider two things. Firstly, if you're going out by yourself, really have a look at the ability to self-recover like I've just done. Just chuck the winch in. I've got comms if I do get really stuck when I'm out there on my own. I'm also going to chuck some treads on that platform. So I've got a few different methods to get myself unstuck if I need to, as well as a recovery kit. But if you don't have any of this gear on your four-wheel drive yet, that's okay, but I'd strongly recommend you go out with some mates so they can get you out if you get stuck. All right, time to get it out in the bush. I haven't put this thing in four-wheel drive since I took it for a test drive when I bought it, so super keen to see how she goes. All right, we're out in the bush. I've just aired down and I've picked a relatively easy track to see how far we can get a standard dual cab ute. Now straight away, I reckon the areas that we're going to be looking at are suspension, wheels and tyres, and also ground clearance. So let's hook in and see how the stocker goes on a nice little track. All right, see how she goes down this little drop off. This is my first time putting the N70 into low range since I bought it. So we'll see how she goes. I'm going to drop into this rut on purpose. I want to see how she behaves. I've already lifted a wheel, that's good. Oh, there's some scrapes already. Pushing the sidewalls of these random highway terrains to the limit. Well, 50 metres into the track and I've already fed the side step, so I reckon sliders are definitely on the cards for me. I knew that already, but here's a really good example. The reason I like putting on sliders early on a vehicle, particularly when the suspension hasn't been put in and you don't have a lot of clearance, is if you damage the sill, it's really hard to repair. Like if you damage a front guard or something like that, generally you can find a second-hand one, but a sill is a much bigger job. So protecting under here is really important. Hopefully, I don't do much more damage before I'm able to chuck some sliders on, but I reckon bar work, straight away I can already tell it's gonna be very much needed on this ute. Oh, you can hear it. Jeez, I think I'm gonna need to get rid of these factory bash plates if they survive this trip. Don't feed the tub, Jock, it's new and nice. Tell you what, I know I'm gonna, oh! Oh, wow. So here's a perfect example of low ground clearance affecting how the vehicle drives in a rut. You can see here, this is from my diff pumpkin and it's scraped pretty much the whole way down. In fact, it was so into the dirt here, you can actually see the witness mark from where the protective ring around the drain plug on the diff has scraped into it as well. And I could feel it the whole way down. The only real way to get proper clearance underneath your diffs is by fitting larger tires. The only way to do that is to fit a suspension lift. So that's something we're definitely going to need to look at, because I don't think the clearance on the old Luxy is doing it any favours. You can even see where the front bash plate was scraping, and then you've got the rear diff here as well, and it's nice and smooth. I was into this pretty hard. See how we got up this little rock step. What's going to be interesting is the N70 has a longer wheelbase than some of the other Hiluxes like my SAS one and the Pony. So when my front wheels get up this step, my rear will be climbing further back, and it's going to be interesting to see how we go. Cool, that was the side step and that's the other side step. I'm going to come further over. Oh, that hurt my heart. Wheel and stock cars is all fun and games until you start damaging them. Yep. So when you've got a stock vehicle and you come up to a section of track, have a few goes, maybe do a bit of packing, and then if you can't get up, if you have a winch like me, just hook the winch up. There's no shame in going for the winch. That's why you put them on the front of the vehicle, and the last thing you want to do is damage your vehicle or the track. So I reckon I've had a few goes at this in the N70. It's nice and wet, and I've got these standard highway terrains on and unlocked as well. So I reckon I'm going to go for a quick winch. First casualty, mud flap. That didn't last long. If you're going out by yourself, get a winch, get yourself a recovery kit. Gives you way more confidence when you're out here alone. So in this instance, I'm just letting the winch do most of the work, just to bring the nose of the vehicle up, and then I'll have a bit of a drive once I'm up. Because I know that this vehicle doesn't have a lot of clearance and I'm going to hit that rock, I'm just easing into it. And again, just letting the winch do most of the work. Now I'll start to give it a little bit of drive. Well, that's good. Didn't need much, just a quick little winch to get me up that rock step. And I'm out. All right, I reckon I'm gonna high center on this climb out. We'll see how we go. Oh, I don't want to throw into that bank. Putting that horsepower to good use. You can see where my bash plate has just made a little Mr. Plow mark. I'm getting in the same spot every time. Don't want to keep feeding it. Let's get the winch out again. Jeez, I've never had the winch downhill before. Well, that one's not too bad, but come look at this one. Done about 100 meters of the first track in the N70, and I've done some pretty interesting damage to the old factory side step. I reckon a set of rock sliders is definitely on the cards, and some more clearance. I was just scraping my way up the whole way on that hill, but the obvious what we need to upgrade. How good? What's been interesting taking this vehicle forward driving for the first time is, if you're watching at home and you've got a stock dual cab or a stock vehicle that you want to build up into a bit of a tourer, to be honest, I don't think you'd need a whole lot more to what this vehicle is now to go out and do some touring. I've got a bull bar and winch, that's pretty sweet there. I'd probably chuck on some suspension, wheels and tyres, and maybe a 12-volt system, and I'd happily cruise around in this four-wheel drive doing some touring. But if you wanted to do a mixture, a bit of both, some tough tracks and some touring, it's clear to see where the vehicle shortcomings are. What I'm getting at is, it just comes down to what you want to do with the four-wheel drive. For me, I want to make it do a bit of everything, so it's going to be a bit harder to get it right. But as a tourer, I reckon you'd be pretty close. With some basic mods like I've done, you'd be on your way. So I've just come to this section of track with my stock vehicle. Now, that looks pretty wild, and you're correct in thinking that I'm not going to be taking the stock N70 up here, because even just looking at this track, you can see where it's going to get unstuck. For example, your front tire is going to be in that hole up there while your rear is trying to climb. Unlocked, you're just going to sit there and spin. Also, because of low clearance, I'm probably going to get high centered on here. That's if I get this far. The tow bar is going to dig into the mud down there, and I'm going to be winching. I've even got to get to here. There's a couple of big ruts and stuff down there. So I guess part of wheeling a stock vehicle is knowing your limits and just accepting that some stuff you probably shouldn't attempt. It's knowing that balance with your vehicle and what you're happy with driving, and your confidence level as well, will go a long way. I would like to take that vehicle up something like this down the line. Remember, I'm building a tough tourer, but I still want to do some tough tracks as well, just because I love doing them. But looking at this track, it's clear to see, to do something like this, I'm going to need bigger tires, I'm going to need a bit more clearance, and I'm going to need traction, because you can see here as a prime example, there's witness marks where tires have dug out in the holes here as people have tried to climb, and all four tires will be trying to climb at once. So that's where things like lockers will really come into their own. I'm going to save this for another day and keep finding some more tracks to play on. So we've seen where lack of clearance will let us down off-road in those ruts, dragging the diff the whole way. We've seen where having unlocked diffs on rock steps, you can really start to struggle in a standard vehicle. Here's a perfect example of where your factory suspension will start to limit how far your standard vehicle can go. Now, obviously, if I had lockers and maybe a bit bigger tires, it'd be a different story. But on a standard ute with standard wheels and tires, you can see I've fully maxed out the suspension on the other side. It's hard on the bump stop, and on this side, I've reached max droop. So I'm basically, that's as much as she's got. When it comes to fitting upgraded suspension, obviously you can get more travel, and you can get your shock lengths and spring rates dialed into suit. But the important thing to note here is there's a common misconception with IFS utes in particular that because they're independent front suspension and there's not a lot of travel, that they're no good off-road. But I would argue that getting the rear to work really well and getting plenty of torsion in the rear, so getting plenty of travel, will really help to making up for the lack of travel in the front. So what I'd like to do with this vehicle is focus on getting a decent amount of travel out of the rear suspension to try and make up for the lack of travel in the front. What that'll allow the vehicle to do is stay nice and level as it's coming in, and what you'll find is, because you don't have much travel in the front, as you dip into a hole, your rear, because it's got much more now that you've fixed it, will be able to compensate for the lack in the front. So that's what I want to do. I want to get the rear to flex more, get much more torsion out of the back with some longer shocks, get the right springs in there, and then we're going to have a look at getting some more travel out of the front. But for now, I'm hard on the bump stops, and you can see little Luxy isn't going any further. Well, I found some rocks to play on, and considering they're my favorite, I couldn't not point the N70 up to see how she goes on these little stock tires. Now, I'm going to be picking a very different line to what I usually would be. I'm going to try and stay higher. Cool, that was actually pretty impressive. Huh. Maybe she's a rock crawler as well. I should get 3 of them. Huh. Tell you what, I thought that was pretty impressive for the little N70. I could really feel those little dog highway terrains where I was pushing them to the limit. There just wasn't a lot of traction there, and I didn't have a lot of confidence in it putting it on that high side. But I reckon this track's a perfect example of choosing different lines to suit your vehicle setup. You can see here there's some pretty deep ruts. If I went in them, I probably wouldn't have gotten up. I just would have high centered, gotten stuck, and would have been like a beach turtle spinning my wheels. But what I was able to do is straddle this rut on the high side, and I pushed those tires to the limit, but she held on. It was just dry enough just to straddle my whole way up. And I tell you what, I'm actually quite impressed by that, but I'd like to try the harder lines over there next time. First things first, I'm gonna go get the other mud flap I just ripped off. That was a pretty awesome day out in the bush. It's been really cool to see just how far you can take a stock vehicle, and hopefully some of you guys watching at home might have given you a few ideas on what to do next to your four-wheel drive. Just remember, it's about what you want to use the vehicle for. For me, as I mentioned, a bit of a tough tourer to do some tough tracks, but also drive to the Cape with mates and also use Monday to Friday. So I've got to keep it comfortable, I've got to keep it reliable, and I want to make it capable. With that in mind, I can clearly see from today's little experiment that there's some valuable information there for what I want to do next, starting with bar work. I reckon I'm going to chuck some sliders on there real quick, and while I'm at it, I reckon it'd be really good to protect the tub while it's straight. I got away with it today, but I don't reckon it's going to last too much longer before I feed that poor old tub. So I reckon some more bar work is next to complement the EFS bull bar, and then after that, I reckon I'm going to look at some driveline mods like lockers and then some bash plates, because I gave the factory bash plates an absolute hiding today. You can probably see all the witness marks on those ruts I drove. Then, before I get into suspension, wheels and tires, I'm actually going to chuck in some touring mods. The reason for that is I want to ensure we get all the heavy stuff in this vehicle first before we dial in the suspension. That way I can really match the suspension with the weight of the vehicle, and I can ensure that I've kept it under its GVM, nice and safe and legal. Remember, I've got to drive this vehicle on the road to and from on a Monday to Friday, and come weekends, take it out in the bush. So I've got to find that medium ground. So there's lots to be done to the Luxy, and if you've got any ideas on what I should do next, chuck them in the comments below, particularly in regards to that touring setup. I've got a few ideas, but anything you've got, I'd love to see it. So let me know. It's worth noting, with all these modifications that I've got planned to this vehicle, the ultimate goal is to build a reliable Monday to Friday daily driver that I can take out in the bush with mates on the weekend and still do the big touring trips just as comfortably as well. But if I find that the modifications that we do aren't really cutting the mustard, I'm going to be looking into the more extreme options available, particularly in relation to suspension, wheels and tires, and the engineering around that. But that's only if the mods I have planned for the upcoming episodes don't really cut the mustard. So for now, it's time to get her washed, get her back in the shed and do some more mods so I can get wheeling again. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.